So this is our first lesson on naming, and the first lesson on naming is that you first need to have an understanding of the periodic table layout. So to take out all of the elements, just to concentrate on a couple of things that are important. The first thing that's important is this Zintel boundary. So this Zintel boundary, remember, is a zigzag line, and it is a fundamental boundary in that it distinguishes the metals that are to the left from the non-metals. So I have not filled in the final column because these elements, for the most part, do not react to form any compounds. So we don't have to worry about naming them in compounds. Hydrogen actually floats. It sometimes acts as if it belongs over the first column, sometimes acts as if it belongs over the carbon column, and sometimes acts as if it belongs over the fluorine column, or the halogens. So I'm not even going to include that in our naming structure right now. The most important thing in naming is to first look at what we call binary compounds. Binary compounds have two different elements in them. They will have two different capital letters, and that will tell you that it has two different compounds. And the way that they combine is it can either be a metal with a nonmetal or two nonmetals. So if I'm looking at my two elements, and one of the elements is on this side of the Zintel boundary and the other one is on this side, it is what we call an ionic compound. However, if both of the elements come from the blue side, from the right of the Zintel boundary, it is called a molecular compound. So what you should at least be able to do is to first recognize whether something is a binary compound. So if I'm looking at these examples here, sodium chloride, this has two capital letters, copper 2 oxide has two capital letters, and carbon dioxide has two capital letters. Those are binary compounds. And then the second part is it an ionic compound or is it a molecular compound? So if it comes from the left side of the Zintel boundary and the right side of the Zintel boundary, then it's going to be an ionic compound. If both of them come from the right side of the Zintel boundary, then it's going to be molecular. Now you'll notice that the blue, the second element in a binary compound, is always a nonmetal. So in fact, all you have to do is look at the first element. So if the first element comes from the left side of the Zintel boundary, it's an ionic compound. And if it comes from the right side, it's a molecular compound. So that's the very basic format as to whether or not something is a binary compound and whether or not it's ionic or molecular.